turncoat Mike Pence demands taxpayers bail out his embarrassing presidential campaign, has over $1.3 million in unpaid debts. A fitting end, it seems, for Mike Pence. Let's read a bit of the story. Chat, press 1 to let out a single tear for Michael Pence. The disgraced former vice president, this is from Gateway Pundit, they have a bit of bias, Mike Pence has sought public funding to help bail out his embarrassing presidential campaign. According to a report from the New York Times, Pence sought public funds last December after realizing that his campaign could no longer meet its obligations. The report states, former Vice President Mike Pence sought public financing for his failed presidential primary campaign, a highly unusual move that, if successful, would make him the first Republican in more than a decade to receive such funds, according to Federal Election Commission documents that have not previously been disclosed. Starting in the post-Watergate era, the federal government has allowed presidential candidates to apply for and receive public dollars, but the program has become all but obsolete as it imposes strict spending limits on anyone who participates at a time when the cost of nationwide campaigning has skyrocketed. Even applying for the money is generally seen as a sign of desperation because the limits of the program are so onerous. Yeah. The Times also found that Pence's campaign has well over $1 million in unpaid debts. Mr. Pence's campaign committee has more than $1.3 million in unpaid debts as of the end of March, federal records show. Qualifying for public funds now would presumably help him pay down those bills. A spokesman for Mr. Pence did not immediately respond for a request to comment. Now, chat, I wonder, is there any extent to which reveling in this is wrong? Has he incurred these debts through no fault of his own? Has he incurred them because of Democrat cheating? Has he incurred them not because he's shit, but because someone else was shit to him? I don't think so. Not that I know of. Now, the reason we don't like Pence is because during 2020, when it was obvious to anyone paying attention that the election was being rigged against Trump, he was the final option to reject the certification. He could have said, this doesn't look right. I am not certifying this election. It would have been right to do so. He did have the ability to do so, legally speaking, constitutionally speaking. And it was literally the president he was vice president for. It was right for him to do it, and he didn't. He certified it even though it was clearly dodgy. Even at the time, even on the day, it looked rigged to anyone paying attention, and he should have been paying attention. Now, there's two options there. Either one, he wasn't paying attention, incompetence, because it's literally his job. Two, he was in cahoots directly, or three, he was in cahoots indirectly by just not really liking Trump. All three of those options make him deserving of our ire. And that's why this is in the category of short stories at the beginning of the stream, which are funny, and to which my main response is, good riddance. Someone says, to play devil's advocate, if not for deep state cheating in 2020, this may have gone very differently. Well, a lot of things would have done, yes. Wig says, the only person at fault is the one that told him he had a chance. Yes. He really didn't. Yeah, before he did all that, there was a chance he was worthwhile. I mean, there was all the Mike Electric Fence Pence, which is all based on things that were exaggerations. But still, it was a fun meme, and there was sort of potential there, but it never really crystallized. As VPs rarely do sort of. They rarely demonstrate their qualities when anywhere near the same extent as the president does. The whole idea of the vice president in the US as a role is totally different than it was when it was introduced, and I'm not sure it's really worth existing. Pretty much the only thing it is at this point, its main function, is as a threat to the opposition to say, if you kill me, if you assassinate me, you get this one. So they pick the worst person on their side they can possibly imagine, the person that the opposition will hate the most. Like Kamala Harris. She's literally hated by everyone. No one. Like, there are on the Democrat side, she had like 1% support in the primaries. Almost no one likes her. So she's the choice. And Pence, I think, was Trump's choice as well. There is also an extent to which you pick the person to sort of appeal to a different section of the party, but there's no real reason why it should appeal to them, because the vice president is probably not going to be influential. Kamala certainly isn't. Pence didn't seem to be. If they're someone who is already similar in belief to the president to the extent that they can be influential, then they don't need to be. So it's pretty much pointless. That said, it's not completely pointless, and I think, for example, with the current president, making Vivek VP would at least force him to stick to his beliefs for 4 years to potentially demonstrate his quality there, and maybe something specific would come up. He also did lay down some conditions. He would only accept being VP if Trump agreed to certain things, all of which I thought were good. So I do hope he becomes VP for those reasons. But it's not going to he's not going to have anywhere near the same role as he would if he was president. Can Donald Trump choose himself as the VP? I don't think there's anything in there technically that says that they can't be the same person explicitly, but it's kind of obvious. One last thing. This paragraph says, despite raising over $5 million from an array of establishment and anti-Trump donors, Pence's campaign was a catastrophic failure that underlined his status as a pariah among the conservative grassroots. Good way to end it, I think. And I think probably that is one of the last times we shall hear of Pence. And I have no regrets on that.